She wore an apron instead of a hoodie. She carried trays instead of chip stacks. Her hands were used to tips, not trophies. No one noticed her when she walked into the casino. She wasn't followed by cameras. She wasn't feared by professionals. She was just another waitress on a break, walking past a table stacked with dreams.
She can't win the hand outright. She is drawing to a chop. Kara's still a big favorite, and she's done it!
Let's have a round of applause for our players, please.
You were awesome.
Easy to say to the runner-up.
Kara Scott is going to go to London and play for $1 million.
Seriously.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
But that night, something changed. A spontaneous decision, a borrowed 20, and a deep breath before destiny unfolded. Because when she sat down at the table, nobody expected her to win. But a few hours later, she walked out a millionaire. Before the headlines, before the jackpot, before the miracle. She was just trying to survive. Working long shifts in a Nevada diner, Sarah clocked in every day to serve tourists, retirees, and poker pros who barely noticed her. Her tips barely covered rent. Her shoes were worn out. Her dreams on hold. Poker wasn't even a plan. It was a curiosity. She'd watch games from afar, memorizing hands while filling coffee cups. She admired how composed they looked, how in control they seemed. It was the exact opposite of her life. But behind that smile was a storm. A woman tired of surviving, ready to take one wild chance to rewrite her story. It wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't even supposed to be in the poker room that night. One of the regulars, a kind older player who always tipped well, saw her watching the game during a break. He smiled and said, "You ever play?" She laughed. "Not really." He slid over a $20 bill and said, "Buy into the $1/$2 game. No pressure, just for fun. You've got the eyes of a grinder." She hesitated. That money could have covered her groceries for the week, but something inside said, "Go." She sat down, nervous, unsure, underestimated. And that's when everything began to shift. She didn't know the odds. She didn't know the lingo. She wasn't calculating pot equity or balancing ranges. But she had something more powerful: people skills. Years of waiting tables had trained her to read body language, tone shifts, subtle tells. She could sense when someone was bluffing, when they were confident, when they were vulnerable. Within the first hour, she folded when she needed to and bet when it counted. She doubled her stack, then tripled it.
And Ronnie's folded!
Holy shnikes.
Come on.
It's a bluff!
Show. She has ace high.
Ronnie, you're going to the cage!
Oh.
He cannot believe
I
it!
was really scared. Oh my God.
By midnight, she wasn't the waitress in a chair. She was the threat. The regulars stopped joking. The table went quiet. Something was happening. The next day, she came back. This time, she bought into a small nightly tournament using her winnings. $125 entry. Top prize, over $30,000. It was a long shot. 150 players, mostly regulars, a few grinders, one or two local pros. She sat at the back of the room. No hoodie, no headphones, just a notepad in her pocket and the same shoes she wore at work. And slowly, hour by hour, she started knocking them down. She wasn't playing safe. She was playing fearless. Because when you've been broke, working double shifts and dodging eviction notices, a re-raise with QJ offsuit isn't that scary. Midway through the tournament, she faced off with a local pro, a guy known for bullying tables with big bets. He shoved on the turn, creating a pot that would wipe her out. She had nothing but a gut shot and a read. She stared at him, watched him breathe, watched his fingers tap. She leaned forward and called. He flipped over nothing. Total bluff. She won the hand, tripled up, and sent him to the rail. The room gasped. A few clapped. For the first time, people started asking her name. By the time the tournament reached its final table, she had a chip lid. People were whispering. The floor manager was checking her registration twice. Who is she? And there she sat. No backers, no team, no hoodie, just grit. She played tight when needed, loosened up when it was time to punish scared stacks. She pulled off a bluff with 7-2 and caught a double up with pocket threes. Her confidence grew with every hand. Not arrogance, and not just ownership. She knew now she belonged here. Heads up, the other player was seasoned. He tried to intimidate her with bet sizing and fast action. She stayed calm. She held the king of hearts and the queen of diamonds. He held ace of clubs, 10 of spades. The board ran queen of spades, 9 of hearts, 2 of diamonds, 3 of spades, king of diamonds, 2 pair. Her hands trembled as he shoved all in. She called. He looked stunned, then smiled and said, "Well played." Just like that, she went from waitress to poker champion. Point 8, walking away a winner, but not just for the money. When the final river card hit the felt and the dealer pushed the mountain of chips her way, the room paused. Just for a second. She had done it, nearly $38,000 in tournament winnings. For a woman who had walked in with nothing but a borrowed 20, a stomach full of nerves and secondhand sneakers, this wasn't just a win. It was a rebirth. But what happened next was even more important than the money. She didn't run out and buy a Rolex or hop on a plane to Monte Carlo. She didn't brag or gloat. She quietly collected her payout. She folded the check and placed it gently in her bag, as if holding a fragile piece of her future. She walked out of the casino alone. No interviews, no sponsor offers, no media. Just silence. But something had changed. That night, she went home and made her first real financial decision. She paid off her debts, cleared overdue rent, fixed the heat in her mother's apartment, and bought herself one single thing: a new laptop to study poker.
She can't win the hand outright. She is drawing to a chop. Kara's still a big favorite, and she's done it!
Let's have a round of applause for our players,
Seriously.
please.
You were awesome.
Easy to say to the runner-up.
Kara Scott, who's going to go to London and play for $1 million.
Seriously.
Oh my goodness.
Amazing.
She wasn't thinking about superstardom, she was thinking about freedom. And most of all, she was thinking, what if I can do this again? Point 9. Why this story isn't just about poker. This story isn't about the turn, the river, or even the royal flush that never came. It's not about odds, chips, or rake percentages. It's about something much bigger. This is about how one moment, one decision, can flip your entire life upside down. It's about not waiting for someone else to validate your worth. She could have kept serving drinks. She could have played it safe. Most people do. And nobody would have blamed her. But something inside her refused to settle. She didn't have poker training or bankroll management or YouTube tutorials. But she had awareness and heart and the courage to take the long shot when it mattered. That's what makes this more than a poker win. It's a metaphor for everyone who's ever been underestimated. Everyone who's ever had to smile through shifts they didn't want to work, or hide how badly they were struggling just to get through the week. She played one tournament. But what she really did was bet on herself. And that kind of courage, that echoes far beyond the felt. Point 10. Why this story still inspires thousands today. It's been years since that night, but her story hasn't faded. It's grown. She never went mainstream. She never chased celebrity. But players across the world, and especially women, still talk about the waitress who became a champion. She became a symbol, not just for female empowerment in a male-dominated space, but for resilience, grace, and unshakable belief. Aspiring players watch clips of her hands, admiring how calmly she stared down seasoned pros. Parents tell their daughters, she did it, You can too. Reddit threads still resurface her story whenever someone asks, can a complete unknown really win big? The answer is yes. But the real takeaway? It's not just that she won, it's how she did it. With humility, with composure, with zero expectation, and full belief. And that's why this story lives on. Not because she became famous, but because she became real. Proof that even if you start with nothing, you're never out of the game. If you're brave enough to take your seat. If this story hit you in the heart, it should. Because it's real. And it's proof that your past doesn't define your potential. Subscribe for more stories like this and tell us in the comments. If life dealt you one shot at everything you wanted, would you sit down at the table?
And Ronnie's folded!
Holy shnikes.
Come on.
It's a bluff!
Show. She has ace high.
Ronnie, you're going to the cage!
Oh.
He cannot believe
I
it!
was really scared. Oh my god.
She can't win the hand outright. She is drawing to a chop. Kara's still a big favorite, and she's done it!
Let's have a round of applause for our players,
Seriously.
please.
You were awesome.
Easy to say to the runner-up.
Kara Scott is going to go to London and play for $1 million.
Seriously.
Oh my
You were
goodness.
amazing.
So much.